I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome everybody to the AfterBuzz TV presenting Money in the Bank After Show. As always, we are here. Well, we're here at home. You know, I feel like this is a makeshift AfterBuzz studio. It looks the same, but as always, I'm not alone. I got two very good-looking people joining me. We have Emily. Don't call her April. Emily Mae.
Hey everyone! It's getting rich in here. Money in the bank.
And I just found out he does not have any Johns in his family, so therefore there is no Farmer Johns in his family. We got Jack Farmer.
We could be watching The Undertaker's last ride right now, but we are still so fired up for Money in the Bank. We're still chatting about it. I'm excited to be here.
It was definitely much to talk about. I mean, we knew coming after WrestleMania that, you know, obviously things are happening these days. Obviously, you can see that with the way we're doing our show, that it hasn't really gone back to normal yet. So I feel like we're going to see a lot of more of these kind of matches where coming after WrestleMania, these cinematic style matches were what everybody was talking about after. That's what WrestleMania 36 is going to be known for. Those cinematic matches that we saw, the Boneyard, the Firefly Funhouse. About 3-4 weeks ago, we heard that Money in the Bank was going to be, you know, we heard rumors at first. We saw pictures. We thought they were just doing a promo, but it became official that you literally have to go up to the roof of WWE headquarters to win the match, to grab the briefcase. What were your immediate thoughts, Jack, when you first heard that the match that was happening going to be like this?
I am famously known for absolutely loving the Boneyard match, and I like the Firefly Funhouse match as well. So when I heard this was going to be a cinematic match, I lit up, I loved it, and I think it was the perfect way to do this show.
Emily, I know that you still, watching NXT, obviously we covered WrestleMania. We saw another cinematic style match with Gargano Ciampa. So obviously they're going to keep doing it. We're kind of curious what they're going to be doing next. But what were your immediate thoughts when you heard that this match was going to be this cinematic style match?
Oh, I was so excited. I was ready. I was excited for the build-up, like how they were going to plan it, how they were going to execute it. And like as a producer too, my brain went to like watching it tonight. I was like, oh, they had to plan this out and execute it and make these little like micro moments into these bigger moments. And I just loved it that they're embracing these cinematic matches because you have to I feel like we were a little nervous about them doing it again because WrestleMania was so effective, but I feel like they succeeded tonight.
And obviously with the way the world is right now, there's really nothing we can do about the current situation. So why not make the best out of it? So we saw, Money in the Bank happen, another pay-per-view, another special event from the PC, from the Performance Center. Again, just make the best out of it. We're all wrestling fans. We're not going to sit there and crap on the product. We get it. We know that the situation, we wish it was better, but what are we going to do? Whine about it? No, we're going to enjoy it. We're all wrestling fans. Now that we saw Money in the Bank happen, before I get into the match, did you guys like that it was kind of both matches at the same time, Emily? We saw the men and the women together essentially in that one match. Obviously, they didn't interact with each other aside from that brief thing we saw with Rey Mysterio. But what were your thoughts when you heard that there was going to be both matches happening at the same time?
Yeah, so I was a little kind of skeptical about the concurrent matches happening, but I loved how they set it up in the beginning, and they, and then they kind of flipped back and forth, and what made it added anticipation and it added excitement, and you didn't know if they were going to run into each other because you had like elevator moments and you had stair moments, like which level are they going to go to? So I thought it was fantastic that it made sense for them to do it at the same time. And then you also were wondering, wait, they all have to end up on the roof. So what's going to happen there? So it added to the fun and just the energy of the show.
What were your thoughts about that, Jack, having both men and women in the match?
I didn't know what to expect going into it, but after seeing it, it was 100% the right call. I think on two levels. One, after the match was finished, I don't know if I would have wanted to watch them start all over again on the bottom floor with a different set of people. And also, I have said many times, I am a believer in intergender wrestling. I'm a believer that is the future of where wrestling is going to go. And I think this was a step in that direction. I don't think any of us questioned it, the believability of it, when we saw Baszler choking out Mysterio and then Nia Jax and Otis squashing him. It was fun, but it also looked great. I think that this was a great step in that direction if that's where they're going. But really, just from a timing perspective, I think it was a really good way to go. I think we would have been burnt out if they did it all over again. And also, something I loved is that this was a shorter show. It wasn't like a lot of their other shows that are like 8 hours long. I love that it was like 2.5 hours. They did it. It was fun. They were done. And I left with a good feeling instead of feeling like, whew, that was a lot.
Exactly, Jack. I agree with you because I totally felt like I had so much energy at the end of the show. I was like, oh man, I kind of like, they left us kind of wanting a little bit more. And I feel like the pacing of the show overall was fantastic. I feel like they placed the matches in the perfect order, and it worked for me. That you're right, it was like 2.5 hours or so. It was not even really as long as Raw, and it worked.
It's funny because I saw a lot of tweets that said shortest pay-per-view ever, and obviously those people have never heard of In Your House. They were like 2 hours long.
Yeah, it should have been called Money in the Bank in Your House. It was, but there was also, I love that some shows need to be serious. WrestleMania needs to have a lot of seriousness to it. It's a spectacle. It's the showcase of the Immortals. It's the biggest night of the year. It was nice to have this show follow it. It's kind of a little silly. It kind of let us laugh a little bit, still moved a lot of stories forward, still did a lot of amazing things, but it was also kind of tongue-in-cheek, also kind of silly. Dana Brooke with the poster over her head, and Asuka dancing in the elevator.
In the elevator? Oh my gosh.
People getting thrown over the side of the building. It was what I think we need after a serious WrestleMania. It was fun. It was a fun show. And I challenge anyone, whether or not you're into cinematic matches or not, to watch that and say, this wasn't a fun showing.
Well, let's talk about the match, or I don't know, if we can just combine them both matches.
Yeah, let's do it.
But Jack, you kind of mentioned it was a fun show. Was this match everything that you expected it to be, coming off the Boneyard and the Firefly Funhouse?
It was great. It totally lived up to it. I think they did an amazing job of following it up, starting with all of the people at the bottom sort of gathering around. I loved how Corbin broke that mirror and then suddenly got really serious, like, uh-oh, I did something. The little cameos throughout were all great. Yes. They were all really fun. I won't go through all of them. I'll let you guys go through them. We'll share them a little bit. But you'd mentioned the Boneyard. I got to say, AJ running into the Undertaker and the music and
that was really cool.
Coffin, and I hope that leads to another round with those two. But it was everything I want. I have no complaints about it at all.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you like, Jack, you mentioned a lot of my favorite moments. I loved like how we had that follow-up with AJ Styles where you kind of had him go through that little kind of PTSD of kind of being buried under the dirt, and having him kind of, thrown into that room. You're like, oh God, like and you get anxious and you're like, oh no, is this going to be another big moment? And I loved like the food fight was fantastic, and Otis starting this big moment where you're like, oh, like with Paul Heyman, and just like it made it so much fun. And you're like, how can we make this as ridiculous as possible, but it all makes sense in the moment?
Yes, I wanted to steal it. I'm just going to jump right in too. AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan going into Vince's office.
Okay, can we talk about that?
And then like cleaning it up, and then
they're like, let's wipe it down and clean it up. Well,
you fix the chairs.
What's funny is I was watching I was watching like the type of like finishes were on each level. I was like, okay, we're in like white. It's very stark. This is like probably like accounting and like some conference rooms. And then like as we got up further, I'm like, oh, this is like VP corporate level. Like I was like, I think we're close to Vince McMahon here. I was like, I think where's the giant T-Rex head? Oh my God, it's there.
It's there.
Like I was totally seeing it. Like I could see it like evolve as we see the match happen. And so I really loved that big reveal. And I loved how they like cleaned up. They're like, all right, let's
2K 100% needs to make a Money in the Bank where you go through the where you have to go through the levels of the building at some point in that game whenever they come back with it, because that would be so much fun to see happen.
If they don't have, and I guess next year going to be 2K22, if they don't have like a Boneyard or a Firefly Funhouse match or this kind of Money in the Bank, I think it's going to be a shame. But I may be in the minority, but I was a little disappointed in this match. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting maybe more. I thought they would go on different levels and say like, I thought they were going to go to like the action figure level or the floor. I thought they were going to go downstairs to the warehouse where they have all the goodies. We're going to see like an old school WCW, like like a WCW Thunder logo or something like the Big Van Vader mask. I know they probably don't own that one, but just something. I thought we were going to see a lot more rarities, a lot of coolness. I didn't really see that. I don't know. It's just I feel like there was a lot of emptiness in terms of the visuals. I feel like with the Funhouse match, that was so visually amazing. We saw a lot of innuendos and hidden meanings and read between the lines. I felt like we were going to see that. Maybe we didn't. Maybe it was unfair because Bray Wyatt wasn't in that match. And I feel like maybe that's more of a Bray Wyatt thing. Maybe we're going to see a Funhouse match. We're going to talk about that later. But I don't know what it was. But I do have a question for you guys. Is it fair to compare this Money in the Bank or both Money in the Bank matches to past years, considering the circumstances?
You mean just from like I think it's apples and oranges. I don't think you can compare any of the other guys winning compared to this. This is a different world, and I know one day we're going to have a I was going to call it a DVD box set, but I guess not. That's my age. But I was going to say with all these cinematic matches, this is a separate world. But I hope they keep them going in the future. And to your point, George, I think these cinematic matches are going to happen for a long time, maybe forever.
Even when the audience comes back.
I think it's very possible we could have matches like this going.
But how do you present that in a live audience? Like, for example, people go to a wrestling show to watch wrestling in front of their face. If they were going to watch a TV screen, they should have just saved the money to watch it on TV at home. So how do you incorporate those matches into a live event setting?
I mean, George, I think you have to be selective about it. I feel like it has to be intentional, and you have to keep it for the right match, the right pairing, the right moment. I wouldn't say it's appropriate for every show, but if you leave it for big moments like Money in the Bank or TakeOver or WrestleMania, I feel like you can be selective and craft a really good cinematic match. So I would say, yes, we're going to have more, and I think it is effective because you have to think we have to adapt to the times and create more creative content that's better, each time. So if fans are really enjoying this, I think they should keep it up. But I wouldn't say that we need it for every show that we're going to have.
Of course. But even if it's once a year, like, how do you present that? Do you just play it on the live screens and just hope that people don't boo?
I mean, first off, Falls Count Anywhere matches, those happen all the time where people run around in the back and they just watch it on the show. But I think the way they should do this is they need to treat cinematic matches in the same way they used to treat matches like Hell in a Cell, where like when it happened, it was a big deal that we were getting a Hell in a Cell or a big deal kind of thing. It shouldn't have its own pay-per-view. It shouldn't have something you expect it. Well, maybe if they had it on pay-per-view. I don't know. I love these. I can watch them all day. But I do think that it's something that it should be a big special thing. So like, kind of like when Finn Balor comes out as the Demon, it should be something like, oh my goodness, they're rolling this out. This is a big deal, not just something you can expect to happen regularly. Absolutely with that. But this, I think everyone looked great in this match. I think everyone came across looking good. I got to shout out that other moment when Dana Brooke got the briefcase in the wrong room. She got the wrong room. And Stephanie McMahon, who 100% was not there.
No, she wasn't there.
But it was so funny. She's like, what are you doing? This is the Money in the Bank conference room.
First of all,
it was fun.
It was a clear briefcase.
It was a clear briefcase with all the money. I know.
How did she not notice there was no physical contract inside the briefcase? Like, she can't be that blonde,
Well, what's frustrating for me as a writer, like, this character is not like, it's not written well because everyone knows that they have to go to the roof to get the briefcase. So the fact that like it's a kind of a quirky little moment for her, but it just doesn't make her look good. And so it was a little frustrating for me, but I'm like, like it is kind of like a kind of a funny moment. But and then with like yeah, like I felt like it didn't make her look great. So
I thought for a minute when I first saw it, my first thought was, is there other briefcase here and they can choose the money over the contract or something like that, which I thought would have been an interesting dynamic, because you might have someone, you know, like Rey Mysterio or whoever go, hey, I'll take the money. I don't want to pay for Drew McIntyre, which would be an interesting, I think you could have some interesting character moves in that scenario. But again, I think at the end of the day, this match wasn't about being some overly serious, big moments. It was supposed to be fun. Like I said, that the tongue in cheek. I think it was supposed to be a bunch of really little silly moments where people had fun with it, and everyone did seem to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And again, I thought everyone looked good. I thought Aleister Black looked like he belonged hanging with those guys. I thought Otis looked fun, putting the barbell on AJ Styles.
Oh my gosh.
So he couldn't get up, as he's calling for Ray to help him, and Ray's like,
nah. Can I talk about Asuka for a second? That I loved her, and I feel like she stood out in this match because she did like the diversion and kind of hiding kind of match. I feel like all the other women in the match kind of were in a clump, and she kind of was away from everyone. And then they had a few interactions with like the mop. But I loved the beginning of this match and her entrance, where they're like, wait, where is she? And she's coming from the balcony, I guess. So I feel like she was super clever, and she used kind of the psychology of the match and kind of used like the mental game to be above and beyond everyone else.
Well, let's talk about some of the winners. We saw Asuka win the match, the Money in the Bank. We also saw Otis win. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Otis was probably, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the odds, but my guess would be he'd be the least favorite to win the match. Yeah. What were your thoughts when you saw Otis? I would say he didn't go up to get the briefcase, but when he caught the briefcase and was named champion.
This was like the ultimate fumble here, dropping it from above, and he catches it. I'm so excited for him. I feel like this is his moment to shine, and now it can happen anywhere against, anyone. And I'm just so excited that he gets this chance. And I feel like it went to a good person.
It's like they always say, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. And Otis was very lucky. First off, if there was fantasy football for wrestling, no one scored any points with Otis today, because I don't think anyone would have had him starting for this one. But one, I love it because it's the classic example of get in where you fit in. I mean, he's someone who I think a lot of us would have been like, okay, he's a silly little comedy character in a tag team that may or may not do okay. And he really found a way to connect with the fans, whether they're there in person or not. He got himself into a story that was interesting and people bought into. They've now bought into him, and he's riding that thing all the way to the top. And right now, he is the classic underdog that we all really want to win. WWE often tries to give us underdog stories. This is an underdog story that I think everyone is cheering for this guy because he's so entertaining. But before I sign off that part, I got to add, Asuka got the briefcase first, so she is the ultimate Money in the Bank winner today, because if this was all out, she beat everybody to the top. And as Emily said, she did it the right way. She did it smart. She was not getting beat up and down that building. She started ahead of everybody else, and she stayed ahead of everybody else the entire time. Asuka, who, by the way, I'm glad she's being rewarded for being the star of the no audience filming.
Yes.
She's by far the most entertaining person during this time. So I'm glad to see she's getting rewarded and getting back where she should have been, which is in that main event title picture.
Not to argue with that statement, but you would pick her over Zelina Vega?
I think Zelina Vega is definitely up there, but Asuka's in the ring, and Zelina Vega can wrestle as well, but Asuka's doing it in the ring, which is why I think she gets a little bit more of a nudge. But Zelina's very close as well. Now
we spoke very briefly before the show started, and I just kept hearing, "Save it for the show, save it for the show." But we saw a couple people get thrown off will look like the top of the building. However, I will say this, and before we go into the WCW reference, that when they got thrown off, you heard like a thud, maybe like a second after, which means that the fall might not have been that brutal, as opposed to. But if you heard the thud 3-4 seconds later, then that's death. That's lethal.
Yeah,
that's lethal. You know?
I hope it's a ledge or something, or bushes, or there's something there. They're not just off the building.
Yeah, George, I know you remember. It was last guy that fell off the building came back and ended up beating Hulk Hogan, which is what we were joking about before we got on the air.
Let me tell you what pissed me off about that. I don't care that he fell off the building. That's fine. That's sports entertainment. But how, after you fall off a building and you come back to wrestle later that night, how are you going to sell a back rake? You know what I mean? You don't sell a back rake from Hulk Hogan, but you just came back,
George,
after falling off a building.
No one back rakes like Hulk Hogan back rakes. That's what everyone knows, that he's got the most dangerous back rake in all the business, really.
That's very true.
So was it? They said he fell into a lake, but he wasn't near the lake. I can't remember which lake it was that they said.
It was in Detroit, Michigan. So maybe Lake Michigan. Or
Lake
I'm not too familiar with all the Great Lakes, but yeah.
I was gonna guess Lake Michigan, but in any case, I thought that was fun. Look, when Corbin threw Rey Mysterio over at first, I think everyone had a little like, oh!
I screamed. I was like, ah!
Which, look, they popped us. They popped. I was like, ah! And then even when he did it to Aleister Black, I was like, ah, Aleister Black.
No, I thought, oh my God, how many is he going to take out?
Before we put go ahead, and Jack.
No, I was going to say, when, Elias came out as well, I mean, Corbin's got a history of throwing people off the sides of things, it looks like.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens with that. But before we put a wrap on the Money in the Bank matches, where do you see Otis go? I have a couple scenarios in my head that I'll play out in a second. But where do you see Otis going from here? Do you see him cashing in maybe somewhere down the road? Do you see him cashing in and not succeeding by of winning one of the championships?
Why not win it? I mean, I could see a lot of different things. If I was in the writer's room, what I would be thinking about doing is having a few of the ne'er-do-wells who want to take advantage of Otis, see if they can find a way to get the briefcase from him, maybe underestimating how smart Otis is and trying to trick him into losing the titles. I think it'd be fun then to see him not cash in on the world title. I'd like to see him say, I've always believed the tag team titles are the most important titles in all of pro wrestling, and I want to go after the New Day.
That was one of my scenarios. I feel like Otis has become so lovable, and especially after, because he's going to be on the Lillian Garcia podcast tomorrow, and he said in other interviews too that he wants to be a tag team champion with Tucker. I feel like that's something that we need to see somewhere down the road. Emily, I got a scenario to play out, and I want to hear what your thoughts is. Yeah. I want to see Mandy Rose somehow convince Otis to give her the briefcase so she can cash it in for a women's championship.
Interesting. Is that legal? Can that happen?
You're talking about WWE and pro wrestling. I think they can find a way.
I don't know. Where's the rule book, guys? I don't know.
She's talking about legality.
Throwing it out the window.
We just saw somebody get thrown off a building.
I mean,
but that's fine.
That's true. But that's okay, though. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that would be interesting. I don't know. I feel like Mandy might be involved somehow. There might be, there's obviously, some good storytelling angles happening there. But I don't think she's that type of person. I don't think she would do something like that. I feel like there's some true love action happening. She was tweeting out. She's super supportive. Yeah.
Well, of course, that's what you're going to be like before you just,
No, George, I believe that it's true love. It's true love, George.
Well, good for them. I'm happy for them.
She wouldn't do that.
Maybe we'll see an Otis and Mandy wedding someday in the future. But we also saw some
championship. More WWE weddings. It's the best.
They're always good.
We also saw some championship matches tonight on Money in the Bank. We saw, in my opinion, a fantastic match with Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. Obviously, this was Drew McIntyre's, I'd say his first defense, but it was against the Big Show, which not sure if that was at WrestleMania or considered WrestleMania or not. But we saw up against Seth Rollins. we've seen them before in a different level as far as one being Seth being the face and now Drew being a heel. Jack, I know you tweeted about it. What did you think of Seth Rollins' new entrance music?
I like it. It fits his character. I think his old music, it's fine with his old music, but it is getting a little stale. I think this freshens him up. It doubles down on the character he's playing. And not to jump the gun here, but I tweeted it out. I'm going to say it again. This match showed why the WWE has built around Seth Rollins for so long. This was a fantastic match.
It really was.
And I think a lot of it had to do with that. Not to take anything away from the champ, but Seth Rollins really came through on this one.
Yeah, but I also have to give it to Drew McIntyre too. That like it was a complete moment where I felt like they both were so in sync with each other. They really like helped make each other shine, and I feel like Seth Rollins finally like found this groove with kind of this new era in his career, and it really like it shined tonight.
I would like to see them change it up a little bit because facially they kind of look like twins. Long hair.
They were a little twinsy tonight.
Yeah, I mean, but overall it's a good match. I mean, I feel like especially in this era that they're in right now, you have to have at least that one match that just doesn't matter if there's a crowd or not. It's going to be killer. At WrestleMania, in my opinion, I thought the best match of the weekend was Rhea versus Charlotte. I think every one of these events shows need that kind of just flat out great wrestling match. We'll see how it goes, for Backlash next month. But we also saw the Universal Championship on the line with not the Fiend, but Bray Wyatt challenge against Braun Strowman. There's a lot of history there. What did you guys think of this matchup and the result? I don't know if anybody was surprised at the result of it. We don't really see Bray or Fiend lose as much. This is probably his second loss since coming back as the Fiend. But what did you guys think, Emily? Yeah. What did you think when you saw this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I loved that it had so much history, like you said. It had just, I felt like the weight of it was so much more. I feel like you had it was unexpected. There was unexpected moments. You had like the puppets come out, and you had like Bray Wyatt has created something that is so interesting and so captivating to watch. And with the whole mask coming out, and I love the little vignettes, the media packages they showed, because it shows that like they have a history. They want to kind of be, Bray Wyatt wants to be reunited again, but there's so much drama there. So it elevated it so much more tonight. And I really want more of those little like puppets and those little vignettes, because it adds to like the creepy factor.
So you're a big fan of Huskus? Right, that's his name, right? Huskus?
Definitely on the Mount Rushmore.
Yes, we should do a Mount Rushmore of puppets.
Well, I mean, how I assume Rocco from LOD would be up there, right? No, he was a puppet, or no, was he a dummy? You don't remember?
Well, I know you got the mop as well. Saturn's mop has got to be up there as well.
But that's true. What did you think of this match overall, Jack?
So I liked it. I did. But to me, it felt a bit like this was a match that should have been on SmackDown, building to the Fiend versus Braun Strowman, as opposed to the pay-per-view match itself. The whole thing, and I think that's where they're going with it. It felt like it was just another step in the build to the Fiend versus Braun Strowman, which is fine. And I get why it happened like that. But watching this, I was kind of, this feels like it should have been a main event of SmackDown.
We saw those glimpses. We saw those little inserts, as you will, at the end of the match. That much imply that the Fiend is probably going to be next for Braun Strowman. When that happens, do you think the Fiend is in a position to win back the championship, or do you think I hear a lot of talk on the internet saying the Fiend doesn't need the belt? Do you think he should win the belt back if this match happens again?
I think he's better without it. I think he's better. Because when you're the champion, you're kind of stuck facing the challenger, and that's sort of what you're stuck in that world. I like the idea of the Fiend being free, and the Fiend being able to hunt down the people he wants to go after and to tell the stories he wants to tell. The problem with the title is your story is almost always I'm the champion. Here's the challenge. This person won Money in the Bank. I'm facing them. This person won Elimination Chamber. I'm facing them. This person won Royal Rumble. I'm facing them. I want the Fiend to hunt. I want him to be out there. I want to be looking for people to come take down. So I'd prefer he doesn't have the title. Personally.
And I feel like the Fiend has this opportunity to like grab people and take them into like get them lost in the funhouse, you know, get them lost in his world. And so I feel like if he is champion, I think Jack, you have a point there that you kind of get stuck in a position. But maybe if he does win and get a title, then maybe it is an opportunity to change what it means to be champion, and it switches it up.
I do think it shows us. I think it means a lot, and I said this on Twitter as well, that this match was this early in the show because it was Bray Wyatt and not the Fiend. I think we as viewers are infinitely more interested in the Fiend than Bray Wyatt, and I think a lot of us, when we heard it was Bray Wyatt, we lost a little bit of buy-in on how important this match was. I don't think you necessarily need to stop having Bray wrestle, but I definitely think there's a huge difference in interest in seeing the Fiend wrestle versus seeing Bray Wyatt wrestle.
That's where we're gonna see what happens with this Friday night on SmackDown. But speaking of champion and challenger, we saw Bayley defend her championship against Tamina. This match was good. I'm not gonna say it was bad. What did you think, Jack?
I thought it was fine. I think it went the way it was supposed to. You know what? I'm gonna Flobo, one of our hosts here at AfterBuzz. He loves Bayley, so I'm gonna be his guy today, and I'm gonna support Bayley. I think the right person won because there's so much going on with her, and there's so much you can do with her as champion still. I really like that she retained, and I think that they're dragging things out with her and Sasha a bit, but I think it's going to make the moment when they do finally butt heads that much better. So I think the right thing happened. I think Bayley looked really good today. Tamina looked fine as well, but I think Bayley really showed that she's a better champion than a lot of us are giving her credit for.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Bayley's just attitude tonight. I mean, like she just like even without an audience, she captivates the ring and she captivates kind of the moment that she's creating. She's talking back, she's talking smack, she's just making the energy of everything happen. And Tamina did a fantastic job tonight. I feel like when Bayley was giving her moves, she was just giving them right back. And she really showed like, hey, I can go against this champion. And I feel like it was a really great showcase for her. And I feel like they're really giving her opportunities right now, which I'm happy to see.
Now with Asuka winning the Money in the Bank, do you see her going after Becky Lynch, or do you see her going after somebody like Bayley?
I really hope she goes after Becky Lynch because I host the Raw after show.
And so you want to see it? You want to talk about it?
I want it to happen there. I think it'd be better if she went after Bayley though, because I think her getting the title from Bayley and then allowing Bayley and Sasha to do their thing would be the best way to do it. But selfishly, I want her on Raw. I like Asuka. I want to chat about Asuka. I want her to be more a part of what I get to do. So I hope she goes after Becky.
Yeah, I love Asuka, but I feel like the better match would be with Bayley. Yeah.
Either way, it's win-win because as you mentioned, Asuka. Yeah. Well, I'm going to say Asuka is probably one of the top 3 people on WWE TV today. I mean, she is an example of just maximizing any second, not just minute, but any second that she has on TV. Another championship match we saw from SmackDown, we saw a 4-way tag team match featuring the champions, The New Day, facing off against the Forgotten Sons, John Morrison and The Miz, and Lucha House Party. Again, 4 teams that have been getting a lot of TV time on SmackDown as of late, and I don't think this disappointed in any single way.
I have all the time in the world for the Forgotten Sons. I think they look cool. I think they wrestle well. I think they've got everything you want in a good tag team. I think the New Day winning was the right call because they just won the titles recently, and it'd be a little bit weird if they won them and lost them that quickly. But I think for me, it's been great watching the Forgotten Sons make the move up from NXT and show out with the champs.
Yes, Emily? Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry. The chat is going crazy. You guys are awesome. I have to give you guys a shout out real quick. It's going so fast, I can't even keep up. We have so many people.
That's good. Shout out to the chat.
I want to ask George, because you are the wrestling encyclopedia, the historian of all things wrestling. You know everything off the top of your head. Are Miz and Morrison the greatest tag team of all time to just go by their names and not have a tag team name?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of meaning. Like, I was happy that they were able to win the championship at least one more time since John Morrison, which was still random, but I think it was another entertaining showing from R-Truth. I think he's another one that just recently. I mean, when I say recently, I mean like the last.
Above and beyond the energy that you need, like it was awesome, and like doing the joke that like the audience is gonna respond.
Yeah,
it was super fun and like kind of nods to the times, but yeah, it was super entertaining. And then his promo after was he was a little loopy and kind of not making too much sense, but I feel like it worked.
Something I really want to see is Lana and Lashley have had some trouble in paradise with their relationship, and Lashley, it seems like, might be open to having someone else manage him, even though Lana is his wife. I want to see MVP try to sneak in there and break that relationship up and take the role of Lashley's manager. I want to see Lana and MVP kind of butt heads backstage. I think that'd be a fun little side story to see happen with those guys. It might give Lashley some more shine, because I think we've all said Lashley has if you made a checklist of what you want, Lashley has everything, but for some reason it's been hard for us to connect with him. But I feel like this Lana thing and it's there, and we're interested in it, and I think if you could find a way to make it wrestling based, it's going to be huge for him.
With the rumors of Apollo Crews turning heel sometime soon, I wouldn't mind seeing like a little stable that MVP puts together with Lashley, with Crews, with Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. What was it? Brendan Vick? What his name is?
Brandon Vink and Shane Thorne, the greatest tag team of all time. I backed them on Raw right away, and everyone gave me a hard time. And then they went on and proved themselves. So I'm going to ride them till the end. They're my team.
We'll see. Real quick, we're going to start the wrap right now, but we did see a pre-show match with Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. How do you think Jeff Hardy looked in his first match back in about a year?
I thought he was fine. I think I was thinking about this though. A lot of people say he's set for a big run here. Some people talking about maybe the next world champion. I was thinking though, and again, you let me know, there's not a lot of people winning in the main event level anymore with top rope moves, are they? Or am I just not thinking of them off the top?
I mean, not too many. I mean, Bayley's got that top rope elbow that she wins sometimes with. Yeah.
Swanton bomb, I don't know. It's interesting. It stands out now because as he was doing it, I was thinking, wow, I don't really see. Even Ricochet started using the recoil instead of the 630. So I thought that was interesting.
What about you, Emily? What did you think of Jeff Hardy?
Yeah, I mean, of course, anytime Jeff Hardy's here, we love him. But I feel like it's after being gone for so long, it's nice. This is a good like warm up match to like get back in, get people watching, get people excited. So I'm hopefully we can see more.
So yeah, this was definitely an interesting and unique Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We'll see if we're going to see a little bit more in the future as far as this kind of style of Money in the Bank matches. Obviously, we're not going to know until next year. A lot can happen between now and then. But thank you both, Jack Farmer, Emily May. Where can people find you, Jack?
You can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at RealJackFarmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the WWE Raw After Show every Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as the AEW Dynamite After Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on AfterBuzz TV. Also, huge announcement, if you watch Jack and Flobo wrestle with your questions every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'll know that on AfterBuzz TV this Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to be interviewing the one, the only Vince Russo. So if you have questions and you want to hear me chat with him, check it out. Tweet me what you want me to ask him. I may just ask the guy himself. Check it out. It's going to be a huge show. It's going to be fun. I am so looking forward to it as a late period WCW fan.
Well, follow that, Emily May.
Oh my God, I can't even. That's so exciting, Jack. Oh my gosh, you can find me on all social media platforms at Emily Mae Heller. You can catch the Women's Wrestling Weekly Show, 1 o'clock on AfterBuzz TV channels. You can catch NXT at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. And then Friday, I'm covering Total Bellas at 7 o'clock as well. So catch all the wrestling shout outs.
Maybe I will, and maybe I will. I am George Hermoza, GHERMOZA. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for anybody watching. Thank you for everybody listening. Thank you for everybody in the chat room. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. We will see you guys later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.